This is Tiger-Cats Postgame on the Ticats Audio Network.
I'm not going to lie, Hitch. This one stings.
Yeah, I'm shocked right now.
This one stings. The Hamilton Tiger-Cats drop the decision 24-23 as Boris Beattie hits a 51-yard field goal as time expires to give the Argonauts a 24-23 win here at Tim Hortons Field, the second straight loss at home for the Ticats, and the Toronto Argonauts improving to 6-4. Ticats dropping to 4-5 on the season. Where do you want to start? I mean, this is let's start with that kick. Full credit to Beattie for a great kick. You know, the wind had kind of changed directions, kind of helped him out on that kick, but the Ticats let this game slip away once again.
Yeah, they did. You know, I'm still kind of, I don't know. It's just words are hard to come out right now. It's looks like they were controlling the game in the first half, and even in the second half when Acklin made that great long pass or made that big long catch and got in the end zone, and the momentum was going, and things were looking great, and Toronto just snuck up. You know, they just snuck up and made some plays when they had to.
It just feels like we talked about it at Tiger-Cats at the half. They didn't have that knockout punch they were looking for.
Yeah, you're right. They had everything going for them in the first half. Like we said, let's just go out in the second half and don't change anything, don't make any adjustments, because what worked in the first half, you might as well keep it going. And you know, probably shouldn't have said that. Maybe they did make some. Maybe they did make some adjustments. But you know, hand it to Toronto. They blitzed a lot tonight. They made them. Mazzoli made a few pressure throws, but you know, we talked about it earlier as well. Like they didn't throw that underneath pattern that was working in the first half. That little outlet pass, the little 5-6 yarder, and get a few first downs. But I don't know. It just seemed like they lost it a bit in the fourth.
It really was a tale of two halves for the Ticats. You know, you mentioned it, that first quarter. I mean, they come out, and we've seen this before. We've seen this script. We've read it. We've watched the movie, whatever cliche you want to use. This all felt very familiar with what we've seen from the Ticats this season, and that's not a good thing. Yeah,
getting back to your knockout punch, I didn't answer your question, but yeah, they need to. Once they're up on a team, they need to, like, I thought that knockout punch was that touchdown, that long one when they went up. Yeah. They got to keep that going, and I know it's easy for us to sit back here and you know, I played the game for a lot of years, and it's easy for people to come out and say that, but you know, because you got to hand it to Toronto, they did play a decent game in the second half, and they did what it took to win that. But the knockout punch is right. They got to find a way to not only lose that lead, but just to keep it and get some more.
And that was, it felt like, and it's felt like this pretty much all season long, that it felt like the Ticats, not that they weren't trying to win, they're always trying to win, but it just felt like they were trying not to lose. Because it just seemed like the play calling, it just seemed like it felt very conservative, and when you play conservative, something like that happens where the Argos come, and I'll let you get to what you want to say, but the Argos' last 4 drives of the game, field goal, touchdown, field goal.
Yeah.
That's how the Argos finished the game.
And I didn't see anything really different from the defense. I mean, they look like, you know, Hamilton played pretty consistent right through the game. But again, a couple of little plays that Toronto made, and I think we were talking about it in the third quarter. Toronto was kind of doing what Hamilton was doing in the first quarter, first half, where they were just kind of, you know, when Hamilton was blitzing a bit, the middle of the field was open, and they were throwing that little outlet for 4 or 5 yards, and they ended up getting some first downs out of it. So I think they might have taken a page out of the Cats playbook in the first bit, and you know, got to hand it to them.
And give McLeod Bethel Thompson a lot of credit too for hanging in there, because he was somebody who did look visibly frustrated on the bench, on the sidelines, on the field, and then he comes out and he finishes the game with 388 yards and those last 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's a give Toronto credit. They got the job done tonight, and the Ticats didn't.
Yeah, sure, different from the first quarter. Was it 50 yards? I think they had in the first half. In the first half, and then came out and did that in the second. So definite hand it to the coaching staff. You know, on both sides. I'm not putting down anything on Hamilton. They played their hearts out, and they couldn't get that knockout.
Speaking of the coaching staff, we'll have some exclusive access to the coaching room when we are joined by Coach Orlando Steinauer. We'll also be joined by a player. We'll name our performer of the game. We'll revisit Hitch's Car Star Keys to Victory. And coming up in just a little bit, we'll have our Tiger-Cats Postgame Roundtable with Courtney Steven and Andy Fantuz. So where do the Ticats go from here? You mentioned it. They obviously going into a bye week after a loss. They're doing it again. That's how they entered their first bye week. It's going to be a long week for the guys.
It will. Yeah, I've been on that side of it as well. So, they know what they need to do. They're not out of it by any means, but this one sure felt they got really kicked in the ribs on this one. So they got to come back. They got to get in that film room, and they're getting better each week. But it does come down to not losing that game, and it's when you've got some momentum going. We've been talking about it, and it's going to be the theme of the show. They need to learn how to put them away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to get to this in our post-game roundtable, but I do want to ask you while I have you here is that what would you do heading into a bye week now? Like, you just came off a tough loss. Like, where would your mind go? Like, right now it's so fresh. You're going to have a couple hours, you're going to shower, you're going to decompress, but tomorrow's a day off. Where do you go from here? We had some
different ways of doing things back then. Our coaches probably would have had us in if we had a few if we had look at these guys, they're the best. If we ended up having a few days off, which we did a lot, and they would say, you know what, go just get out of here, get football off your mind, go home with your families, or just get out of there. But I'll tell you, the players are going to get through. They're sickened right now in that locker room the way they lost this one tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the captains and some of the guys said, hey, let's get together for some film. Let's take tomorrow off and then maybe come in on Wednesday or Thursday, and let's get some film work done and then make sure that we're on the right page. I can see that happening with this team. Again, it's also nice to get out of the game and get your body, get a rest, get in the training room, but just get away from football for a few days and then come back and regroup.
So 4-5 in a normal season, we'd kind of be reaching the halfway point now, but it's a 14-game season instead. So you got 5 games left. There's still some time to kind of figure this out. What do you think the Ticats' priority should be coming into Week 12 when it comes to making the adjustments you need to?
Well, bottom line, they got to win another game. They have to win. Now it's going to be not only in the fans' minds and some of the coaches' minds, but it's going to be on their mind about, like I said earlier in the beginning of the pregame show, where you got to look at that 4th place team in the West that has 4 wins. So, as long as they do their part, they control their own destiny. As long as they stay ahead of the 4th place team in the West, and you don't want to start looking like that with 4 or 5 games to go in the season. Or I don't know how many left. I think there's
5 games.
5 games left. So, they got to win. They got to win at least 3, in order to get a shot. So,
yeah, Jeremiah Masoli, I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really good for the majority of the game. I think there were some throws that maybe he'd want to have back. I think Jaelon Acklin kind of helped him out on a great catch and a great route. But when you look at his numbers, 24 of 33, that's a 73% conversion rate, 361 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty solid day for Jeremiah, loss aside.
Yeah. Again, he played well. Good enough to win a game, I think. But, it's one of those things where you look at what you do during the week and you put all the preparation in and the team puts it in and you come out and you're on top and you're having a lot of fun, and then all of a sudden that happens.
How do you avoid the frustration, the disappointment? How do you not let that boil over? Because you have to imagine after a game like this one stings, this one hurts, there's going to be some frustration. How do you kind of quash that before it even starts?
Well, there's definitely not going to be a lot of talk in the locker room. Guys aren't going to, they're not going to be mumbling. They're not going to be saying anything about any one player, because that's just not the way this team is built right now. But I can tell you that, the veteran guys, they know, they're looking down the road and saying, hey, we've got a Grey Cup in Hamilton, and we've got to do everything we can to at least make the playoffs. So there's got to be a sense of urgency now for these guys, and again, there's not going to be any finger pointing or name calling on anybody. It's going to be a group effort to get these guys, and believe me, these coaching staff with Coach O and the coaching staff, I know these guys, and they're going to prepare them to the best that they can, and it's all up to them to go out in the field and finish it off.
Yeah, as mentioned, the Ticats have the bye week heading into Week 11, but Week 12, they're right back here when they host the Ottawa Red Blacks, and we're going to be giving away a pair of gold seats to see the Ticats take on the Red Blacks. That game is on October 23rd. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff. We'll tell you how you can enter coming up. We are going to name our performer of the game. We'll also be joined by Jaelon Acklin coming up in just a little bit, and soon to be joined by Coach Orlando Steinauer, and we'll revisit Rob's Karstar keys to victory. This is a tough pill to swallow, but this team does have the leadership, the experience, and the people, both in the coaching staff and the roster, to really not let them get down on themselves.
And again, alluded to earlier, that the coaching staff won't let these guys get into that position. Not that the veterans would ever do that, but I can tell you it's going to be it's a team effort. These coaches know, they've been in these positions before as players and also as coaches, so they know exactly what to do. And again, they're going to put them in positions to the best of their abilities to make plays, and they're going to say, guys, it's up to you guys now to be on that field and to go out and just produce, because we had a great crowd here today. The atmosphere was fantastic. The fans were going crazy when the D wanted them loud. They were loud, and one of those things where you're almost, you feel like you put them down, like you lost one for them, but they're not really thinking about the fans. But the fans are like, wow, you guys just lost this thing in the last second, but. You know what? They're going to be fine. These guys are going to be fine.
And I mean, that's the one thing I guess that we keep coming back to with this team, and I guess it's kind of been the theme all season, is just the fact that here we are. Like, we don't know what the Ticats. We don't know who the 2021 Ticats are because we haven't really seen all of them all at once. Like obviously Kay Okafor is a huge loss on the 6-game injured list, but you're out Frankie Williams this week. He's such a difference maker on defense, on special teams. They're out Brandon Banks. Brandon Banks is, he's a little bit older, but he's still the reigning most outstanding player. It's tough to kind of evaluate. Mike Daly went down early. It's tough to evaluate what this team is, and I know coach isn't going to make an excuse, and nobody's going to make an excuse because it's a next man up mentality. We know that. It's been said 1,000 times, but it's frustrating, and I'm sure it's frustrating for fans because we don't know what this 2021 Ticats team is yet.
No, identity is a big thing, and that was a big name. That was a big name that we had in our locker room. What kind of team are you guys? And they let that up. The coaches said that to the players, like, who do you guys want to be? Do you want to be Grey Cup champions? You got to go out and play like it then. And it's just a couple of little words, subtle words that coaches and players and veteran players can say to you. To really go home and take a good hard look in the mirror and say, did I do my job? Did I do everything in my power to do my job tonight? And if you did that, and you can look at yourself in the mirror and say that, then you've got no problem. But they'll probably, the eye in the sky doesn't lie when they watch that film, and they're going to say, some guys made some mistakes, but no one's perfect.
No.
People are going to make mistakes, and that's just the game of football.
Just penalties seem to have killed the Ticats, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But right now, I'm very pleased to be joined by the coach of the Tiger-Cats. Exclusive access to the coaching room. Time to check in with Coach O, presented by Access Storage. Coach Steinauer, obviously this one stings. What do you say to the guys after a game like this?
Well, we just got to find a way to finish, right? We got to we had opportunities in all three phases to finish the game, and we didn't get it done. So they know that. We know that. There's no words. Just the loss speaks for itself.
Yeah, hey coach, it's Hitch here. We talked about it during the game, and just that sense of urgency of getting that knockout punch, like you said earlier, of just you're up on him, you make a great catch. Acklin makes a great catch, and you're up on him a bit, and you just kind of want to just try to knock him out and get that one knockout punch. And do you say anything? Because I know we played a lot of years together, and is there any coach that anybody can go in and just say, hey guys, how do we do this?
Yeah, I mean, you're always evaluating those type of things, and sometimes it happens naturally. I know that you can't force it. Unfortunate on the roughing call, I felt like that was the knockout blow. By no means did that lose us the game at all. There was plenty of other things, but, we there's just so many opportunities. Obviously, we'll talk about it, behind the scenes, but nothing to address with the football team, as we're going through it.
Mm-hmm. Jeremiah Masoli, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns. Are you continuing to see his development, his improvement? Like, not as a player, but from his injury, is he getting to where we all expect and know that Jeremiah is capable of playing?
Well, he's obviously seeing the field a little bit better. with that, we're protecting the quarterback a little bit better. And so you're able to, when you're able to drop back pass a little bit more, you have a few more options. So, Jeremiah's, his play is picking up, and so was our offensive line and production. We have to find a way to, got to find a way to win. That's the bottom line.
Coach, appreciate this as always. Enjoy the bye week, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
That is the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger-Cats, Orlando Steinauer, and exclusive access to the coaching room presented by Access Storage. I mean, he said what we've been saying. They just don't have that knockout punch right now, and how do you find it? Like, do you need to win one of these games to really know what it feels like to be able to put it into play?
Yeah, Coach O just said it. You can't force it, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing you can teach. It's just you're on the field, you're playing that moment, and you as a group, whether it be a special teams play or a defensive play or a big play on offense, you got to find that way to do it, and someone's got to step up and do it. And I don't want to say you can hear the frustration, but you can understand the frustration in the room, because when you look at it wasn't a bad game. Nobody played poorly. Nobody cost them the game. Coach is going to bring up the roughing the passer on an interception. Yeah, that obviously could have been the knockout punch. Just like, a couple of weeks ago, it was a fumble that was ruled down by contact that could have been the knockout punch. It's almost like you got to learn to live with the letdown and then come right back out. It's like being punched and then being able to throw a counter punch. It goes both ways as well, because, Hamilton, they had a big play for big defensive pass interference on the Argos, and that could have been the knockout for Hamilton to go through. But if they didn't call that on the field, that might not have been, they would have been Toronto's ball, and that would have been over. So just one of those things where, it's hard to keep harping on it, but someone's got to come up and do something. Yeah, defensively, the Ticats, I thought, had a great game. I guess, a couple of sacks, a couple of tackles for losses, and we'll get to that more. And we'll get to more, but right now we go down to the locker room and connect with Jaelon Acklin, this exclusive post-game interview presented by Access Storage. And Jaelon, I have to imagine that this one stings, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. After the loss last week, we figured that we got things right, but just didn't make enough plays towards the end, and it sucks.
96 yards. You had that nice touch. What did you see on that touchdown catch? It seems like you had to kind of split the defenders on that route. What did you see in your touchdown?
Yeah, I tried to separate from the corner. Whenever I did, I looked back at Masoli, and he kind of threw it inside because he saw the safety collapsing on me. So I just made the adjustment, and it ended up being a pretty easy touchdown for me because Masoli put it right where he's supposed to.
Hey, it's Rob Hitchcock here. How you doing?
What's up, Rob? How you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, I was just talking about that play, and I was wondering what that safety was doing, playing that position myself. And I was like, were you worried he was going to hit you, or was it just something you saw in your corner of your eye and just kind of cut underneath him? Because I thought he was going to come through you, and all of a sudden he totally missed you.
Yeah, no, I kind of fish-eyed him, so I saw my peripherals. So they were in that cover 3, I think, and the corner just dropped me, and he was trying to compensate for it. But yeah, luckily I just slipped underneath him, and it was a perfect ball by Jeremiah.
It's the second time you're going into a bye week after a loss. I mean, it sucks. There's no point. But do you kind of look at it the sense that, hey guys, there's still 5 games left here. We're gonna have a bye week. We're in the home stretch here. Like, what's kind of the mindset of this team through the like I said, the home stretch here?
I mean, the mindset is we gotta start figuring out ways to win. Right now we're figuring out ways to lose. So whether that be you don't go home on the bye week, you want to put in work during this bye week and get better, or that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to come in earlier. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get my body right, and I don't want to lose anymore. So that's my mentality going in, and I hope that's everyone else's. Well said, Jaelon. Thanks for doing this. Thank you. Appreciate it, Louie.
It's Jaelon Acklin, that exclusive post-game interview presented by Access Storage. And, hey, Jaelon Acklin is also our performer of the game, presented by Hercules Tire. Ride on our strength. And great game for Acklin, 96 yards and a touchdown, including that 45-yard touchdown catch.
Yeah, he played great. You know, we had a couple players on that on our list, but he stood out the most tonight. Played a great game.
I think Masoli could have been an honorable mention. Jagarrett Davis had a solid game as well. So, Jaelon Acklin, well deserved. And I think that was one of those games that he kind of needed for himself almost. Like, it's just sort of like Jeremiah did. Kind of needed a game like this where he can throw up 360 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, overall, I thought the Ticats played well. Unfortunately, last-second field goal cost him.
Well, I can tell you, Jaelon would be throwing that, whatever we just gave him, he'd be throwing that out. He'd rather have a win on this one. And it doesn't mean anything on these accolades. But you know what? It's sure nice to be recognized by some of the guys on the team, and just know that you played a great game and take that momentum and move it into the next game.
All right, time to get to our Tiger-Cats post-game roundtable. And joining the conversation is Courtney, Steven, and Andy Fantuz. And gentlemen, Andy, we'll start with you because this is normally your spot. This is where you sit here, but you were in the booth. So, hi, how's it going, man?
Hey, Louie. Hey, Rob.
Little bitter,
Courtney. What a tale of two halves there. And you know, I was still impressed by the way the Ticats played, especially offensively. It's the best show we've seen so far. So, you know, to take some positives out of this game, I think that they have something to build on. And if they can continue to get better from here offensively, then they're going to have a better chance to win more football games. It's a tough loss, one of those ones that you could look at a handful of plays, like most losses are, and say that really is what changed the game. But, you know, offensively, defensively in the first half, they played outstanding. It just seemed like their zone coverage was a little bit too loose there in the second half, and Bethel Thompson was reading the field very well and just throwing on time in those zones to allow not only a catch but a chance to get some yak after the catch.
Yeah, we saw that about 5 or 6 times, that little outlet, little running back coming outside, or the safety coming up and just being that half second late on the blitz. But just playing off a little too deep, and then little receivers coming underneath and catching that five yarder, and then making a first down with it. It's just, okay, we saw it once, saw it twice, and it happened 4, 5, 6 times. Okay, like, step up. Like, somebody's got to do it. It's one of those things. We played a lot of D, and it frustrates you when you're out there looking at it, watching it as a fan. But you figure that someone's got to make that adjustment.
Well, it's hard because they really didn't give up the big play.
Mm-mm.
You know, the whole game they contained McLeod, Bethel Thompson, and that Argo offense, but it was like a death by 1,000 paper cuts where it was the check down, it was the short out, it was the running back leaking out late. It was just those little plays that added up and those first downs that kept moving the chains and gave them a chance to hit those field goals that kept them in the game.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, like you said, you can't look at this game and think the Ticats played poorly. Like, to your point, Andy, like, the Ticats didn't play poorly. Jeremiah Masoli had a great game. The rushing game was going. Malik Irons found some found some holes and made it count. Sean Thomas Erlington out of the backfield with some great catches. Does it add to the frustration when you do play well, you don't give up the big plays, and you still lose a game like this?
I don't know if it adds to the frustration. I think I would be a little more disappointed if you came out flat, you couldn't get anything going. At least there are some positives here, like I mentioned before, and this was the game, even in the whole league, I think I saw the best catching I've seen in the whole league. There were a number of outstanding catches and not a lot of drops. There were a few plays that could have been caught that I wouldn't call a drop, just when the receiver wasn't attacking the ball on both sides of the ball. But I mean, that Tavares Daniels catch was outstanding. The Jaelon Acklin adjustment, his awareness to not hit that safety, you guys were just talking to him, and kind of slow down just to come underneath of him. Incredible. Dunbar right before that jumping, diving catch. Giddens Jr. took that hit from Adeleke in the middle and caught the ball. Even that third down conversion, Brissett hadn't touched the ball all game long, and on 3rd and 7, it looked like Desmond Lawrence was coming to break it up, and he makes this catch, hasn't touched the ball all game. Like, that was CFL football right there.
Yeah, Court, I mean, to that point, I mean, we saw some fantastic catches, and it felt like I said, it all felt very familiar because it was just a couple, last week, it was 8 days ago, we were kind of seeing the game, same conditions, same, like, a great catch to extend the drive on 3rd and something, right? And how do you move on from a game like this going into a bye week? obviously there's some frustration. You're 4-5. You just watched the Argos move up 2 games. How do you move on from a game like this?
Well, there's a lot to take out of this game. And you know what? Sometimes it's better to lose earlier or midway through the season rather than late when you really have do-or-die situations on hand. So I think you take what worked well. I thought there was a lot of evidence that the defense for the Ticats is really studying film, getting in there, preparing. I saw a couple second down situations. The Argos went through some signature plays. The stick post in the seam there. The linebackers were sitting inside, waiting on that second move and breaking up those passes. I think Cameron Kelly actually intercepted one of those, which easily could have been a big play to move the sticks. They ended up getting a penalty, but those are positives you can take away from the preparation and carry that forward into the season. So you look at the things with a microscope when you lose, and they might have got brushed over if they had won this game, but hopefully heading into the back half of the season or the last few, those things will be cleaned up and they'll hit the ground running for the playoffs.
It was the Argos who took the most penalties. They took 13 penalties for 105 yards. The Ticats did have some costly penalties, 6 flags for a total of 57 yards. And there's not a lot of season left, Rob, but there's still enough time to figure this out.
Oh, there is. Again, we talked about it at the end of the show as well. And I was just saying, guys, how now after this loss, this bitter loss, there's some guys that have been around for a while. A couple of the vets are looking at that Calgary, the 4th place team out the West, going, okay, they got 4 wins, so we just got to do our part. Win a couple more games and we're in. That's always on your mind. Some of the young guys might not know that this 4th place team could come over and take the 3rd place in the East, but that's definitely on some of the minds of the vets, and it's just one of those things where, Coach O said it, right? We can't teach these guys how to go out and knock out punch. We can't teach them that. But when you're on the field, and we'll put them in positions where they're going to make plays, it's up to them on the field to step up and make a play. When somebody does that, you've got that momentum going, that's what wins you games.
We heard Ack say it, Tuz, Jaelon Acklin there. We heard him say, I'm going to be back here. I'm going to be here early. I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to get my body right. Doesn't sound like that was his original plan for the bye week. How surprised would you be if most players ended up changing their bye week plans to be here?
You know what? I'm kind of on the other side in this one. I think the bye week's an important time to kind of step away for a sec and kind of regenerate your body and your mind, whether that's going and just hanging out with family. If you have Nick, he said he's going to get his body right. That's the number one priority. If you're injured, you can't be leaving town or anything. But I think it's important to just sort of decompress and reevaluate things and then come back fresh. You can't just keep pressing all year long, especially after a couple tough losses like this. I think it's important to, it's like chess. You can't just keep pressing. Sometimes you got to retreat in order to attack again. So I think that, he's a young guy, and I get that because he's in the moment, and he's like, I want to just keep getting better, and I'm sure there'll be some people who do that. But I can kind of see both sides on this one.
So you're saying the veterans are going home and the young guys are coming in to work out and watch film?
No, I'm just saying I can understand where his head's at in an emotional moment like this, totally. And I've been there too, and I've said that exact same thing more than once. But after with us sitting here and kind of maybe tomorrow he'll kind of think about it differently after he slept on it. Yeah. But I got a question for you guys. So I was listening to your halftime show. And you sort of said, and I agreed with you, that, don't really change anything we're doing because everything's going well, offensively and defensively. Yeah, it was only a 7-point game, which was extremely disappointing. But, actually, producer Dave, he mentioned it. I give him a shout-out. He's like, is this one of those situations where the other team's making all these adjustments and you're just saying, we're going to go still do the same thing and well, we got kind of caught by surprise. I don't know. You know
that Toronto had to go in and make some adjustments. 58 yards in total offense. They're going to make adjustments. So what I said, it's working for you. 58 yards. Defense has played great. You got some great special teams. Offense is moving the ball. And, you're good. Of course they're going to go in and look at some stuff and make a few little adjustments. But you don't have to go in and you're not down by 20 where you're going in and you got to score points down the field. That's just something. I think that it worked, but I shouldn't have said it because it didn't work.
Court,
one of those days.
Court, what did you see in the second half? That just it wasn't. It was a tale of two halves. Andy said it when he sat down. It was a tale of two halves. What did you see from the Ticats or from the Argos?
Well, truthfully, the Ticats came out all guns firing. In the first quarter, I thought we were going to put this one away early. We were first to score. We're getting up by 2 scores actually at one point, and then it seemed as if we just couldn't close the door. So kind of like what Rob said, players have to get into a mindset of making the big play, right? You can't just make good plays all game long and become a championship team. There has to be somebody who's willing to make a championship level play, whether it be, you know, breaking up that pass that's going to be the conversion to put them in field goal range, or if it's going to be the person who just sinks a little bit deeper in the zone so we can get that coverage sack. There wasn't anybody who really made that big play. And not to take anything away from the coaching adjustments, but coaches can only put you in position. The players got to finish.
Yeah. I thought the D-line, O-line battle was pretty interesting all game long. There were a couple of knockdowns, and it seemed like the game plan was get to Jeremiah Masoli as quickly as you can. And I thought the offensive line, you know, with all the changes, K.O. Okafor is out, you know, Murray's flipping sides from right tackle to left tackle, Van Zyle's back in. I feel like for the offensive line, there's a lot of things to build on from this game. And if this is who the Ticats are moving forward, then yeah, this loss doesn't sting as much because, like Andy said, a couple of plays could have gone a different way. There are building pieces here of a championship team.
Yeah, the line of scrimmage was certainly controlled by the Tiger-Cats on both sides of the ball within the tackles. Now, I think Toronto got some edge pressure and was able to not only get some sacks that were crucial and some forced some pressures, but they also batted a lot of balls down that were critical times with the edge pressure. But within the tackles, the Tiger-Cats dominated on both sides. So it was great to see all those big holes on the running game. I was hoping to see more of it the second half. Now, looking back at it, it seemed like it was just one of those games that it wasn't that much opportunity to run more. And then when they did run, I was wishing they were passing more. When they got down to the 9-yard line, I thought, you know, it's not time to get conservative now. But anyway, I'm not trying to dog the coaches because they're making
Split-second decisions.
And they're right more often than not. It's easy. Hindsight's 20/20, but I thought they controlled the line of scrimmage, especially the interior on both sides of the ball, and it's really remarkable to have that big of a skew in the difference in penalties from both teams, the offensive production in the first half, the difference between the two teams, and then to have a game that came down like that, it's wild. Game of inches.
Safeties, missed extra points. I mean,
we wouldn't be talking about this if they won.
I know, but like we say, and that didn't cost them. And like nobody's going into that locker room and looking at Taylor Bertolette and saying, "You screwed us over." Like this is on you. Nobody's going to Jagarrett Davis and saying, "Hey, why'd you take that?" First of all, that would be a very toxic workplace to begin with. But that's just not how this team operates, is it, Court?
Absolutely not. It's a team defense, and it's a team overall, 3 phases of the game. I thought that they did a good job controlling the explosive plays on special teams. I thought Jeremiah Masoli looked comfortable in the pocket. He was seeing the blitz. He was finding the open receiver in the void. I felt like the coverage was complementing the rush. They didn't even have to blitz that often to get home and actually put pressure on McLeod Bethel-Thompson. So really, it was a team effort. It's just you got to get off the field on second down. You got to catch those deep balls when you're open, or the passes got to be on target. It's a little thing here, a little thing there. That's not in and of itself fatal. It's the accumulation of all of them, I think.
All right, we're giving away a pair of gold seats to see the Ticats take on the Red Blacks on Saturday, October 23rd. Here's how you enter. You can send us an email at gameday@ticats.ca. That's gameday@ticats.ca. Put the keyword drumstick in the subject line and tell us your name and the city in which you live inside the email. It's that simple, and it'll allow those who are listening live on the stream as well as in podcast form to enter. Entry deadline is noon on Tuesday, October 12th, and we'll randomly pick from all the entries. Drumstick is the keyword. Gameday@ticats.ca is where to send it. Hitch, you were kind of nodding along when Tuz was talking about getting away, and then he kind of pointed. There's a huge mental aspect of getting over a game like this, isn't there?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier as well, but you hit the nail on the head, Andy. You need to get out of here. You need to decompress. You need to get out of the whole facility, and just go home to your family or go home to wherever you're staying at, and just get away from the game for a while, regroup and come back fresh. And you've got 4 or 5 games left to go to just say, hey, this is what we got to do, boys. We control our own destiny. But there are some guys that, like you said, tonight, a lot of them will be here tomorrow. We're going to work out. We're going to run. You're going to get that, but I think Coach O and the guys may surprise everybody and say, you need to get out of here and just go regroup a little bit and relax. But again, the guys that are hurt, they're going to be here anyway. So the guys that aren't, go home and relax and think about this, the way you felt when you left this. And we were saying earlier that if you look yourself in the mirror and say that you did your job, and you did everything you could to help the team win. If you can say that honestly and look at yourself, then hey, you did your job, so you're going to be okay.
Yeah, and it we've heard it, and it is football. It's so cliche, but it comes down to 6 or 7 plays throughout the game, and there's going to be a lot of things to look back on. But like you were saying, Court, there's a lot of good to take from this game, and I'm not just trying to be optimistic. Hey, we're on the Ticats Audio Network. Let's spin this into something happy. Because yeah, it sucks that they lost. It sucks that they're now 2 games back of the Toronto Argonauts for first in the East. It makes it that much harder. And in a season where in 2019 it just seemed everything came so simple, it is good, like you said, to have this punch in the face, to learn how to be punched so you know how to counterpunch.
Yeah, and for the young guys on the team, this is one of those maturation events. You have to be in tough games. You have to know what it feels like to maybe miss the tackle that leads to a big play or sets up a field goal, so that, maybe you approach your preparation with a little bit more tenacity. These veteran guys, like Rob was saying, they've been there, done that. They know what's at stake. So the younger guys, they're going to, in the playoffs, there's no rookies in the playoffs. By that time of the season, everybody needs to be locked in, zeroed in, and, rise to the occasion, because that's what we're here for. We're hosting the Grey Cup, guys. They know what's at stake, and I want to see our team there.
It's not talked about, but it's known, right? It's not everyday conversation. Hey, yeah, the Grey Cup's here. The Grey Cup's here. Like, how much is it in the back of their minds that there's an awesome opportunity to do something, win a Grey Cup, especially guys like Simone, guys like
he's letting
Jeremiah.
Everyone know.
That's what I mean. Like, is that what it is? Is he vocal in there? Like, we have to be at this game.
I mean, maybe not every day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's saying it like not during, of course, 2 days before a game, but he's definitely got it on the minds, and we talked about it a little bit earlier as well. Like, for the fans, it's not about the fans, but it is, because when they came out in Dwarves today, and there was so many of them cheering loud, and it was so nice to see the atmosphere the way it was. We haven't had this for a couple of years, and it's almost like the pin went in the balloon and it popped, and then they lost, and it was just like, and everyone just raced out of here, and I just saw the emotion on some of the faces, and the players don't, we cared, of course we cared, because the fans are a massive part of this, but deep down it's, damn, we lost one for them as well, and you do that, right? And you guys have all played the game, and you understand how important it is for the fans to be here and to support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going now at this point in the season as well, back to your question, I think the focus almost turns to the playoff picture, to be honest, because now you have 4 wins and 5 losses. Montreal's 4 wins, 4 losses, so they got a game in hand, and now you're looking over your shoulder at the other side at Calgary and the crossover, or whoever ends up being in that 4th spot. So that's a key point. Then you gotta make sure you make the playoffs, but they still all they can do is control what they can control. They still have another game against Toronto, so you say they're 2 games back. Well, if they win that game, they'll have the tie break. If Toronto does
since
drop a
they've
game,
only won by 2.
Yeah, Toronto's won by 2, and Ticats won by 13. So they're up in the point spread. So if they win that game, they'll have the tie break, and they'll only be 1 game back. So you just control what you control, win your games. If Toronto drops a game, then boom, you're all of a sudden, maybe you're in first place.
Yeah, and that's what we love about the CFL, isn't it, though, Courtney? I mean, like, and I think, I'll give credit to Steve Milne, because he's been pointing this out, that, like, it is very hard for a 3rd-place team in the East to win the Grey Cup. Like, you got to go on the road in the East Final. You got to go on the road in the East. You got to go on the road in the East, like, semifinal, East Final. Like, it's a difficult path. It's not impossible, but it's a pretty hard thing to do. First should be the goal, but, I mean, anything less than second is going to be tricky.
Well, I mean, all you got to do is get your foot in the door. That gives you the opportunity. And
so the analyst here, all the players are shaking their heads at me.
I mean,
once you in the playoffs, it don't matter.
That's it.
Second, third.
That's the thing, especially because this league, there's so much parity from the top to the bottom. I mean, the schedule remaining, we're playing Ottawa, we're playing Edmonton, BC, Saskatchewan. These are all teams whose record are right around ours. You know, Saskatchewan's 5-4, BC is 4-4. Edmonton and Ottawa are both at the bottom of the respective divisions, and then we got Toronto again also. Yeah. So, I mean, you have a direct hand in how your future plays out if you're the Ticats right now. And I think that's something you got to be licking your chops at. You get one day to be salty about this loss, and then after that, there's so much opportunity in front of you. You're looking forward to it.
All right, let's all, while we're all here together, let's revisit Hitch's CarStar keys to victory. We'll give our thumbs up or thumbs down. Hitch, number one, you had special teams game.
Yeah, who won the special teams game? I have to say Toronto did tonight. They kicked the winning field goal.
That's
I think both teams played well. I mean, Hamilton had they played solid. That new returner was he was decent tonight. We ran north and south, didn't make too many moves, and didn't get tackled for losses or anything. So I'm gonna have to go with Toronto with the winning field goal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Number two, you had win the turnover battle. Just one turnover, and it was on down. So both teams doing a good job of protecting the football.
Yeah.
I mean, there was close to being an outstanding play. And, I mean, me as a DB, I had to respect it because it was all film study. But it was negated by a penalty, unfortunately. But, I mean, the turnover battle always is something big. No matter if it's turnover on downs, a fumble, an interception, it's a bonus possession for the other team. So I think we did a great job protecting the rock.
Pinball is here, by the way.
Is he?
He's clapping his team as they make their way onto the bus. And then for number three, discipline. We talked about this, too. The Ticats should have been able to take advantage of a lot of Toronto penalties.
Yeah, well, Toronto had more penalties, so you would lean towards giving the thumbs up in that category. But the most crucial penalty of the whole game was that, I would say, controversial roughing the passer call that got challenged by Jagarrett Davis. I mean, that's just unfortunate. He's right there, split-second timing. He puts his head up, doesn't hit him with his head, just happens to hit his face mask with his shoulder pads, and just because the helmet got ajarred a little bit on the screen, you could see it halfway up his face, they call it. And I don't know what you can do about that. It's not malicious in any means. He did the right thing, and it was an excellent catch by Cam Kelly. Like, it was what a turnaround. They went down and scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I think the reason on that one, because he was head on. He was straight on him. Like, if he came from an angle and hit that, he might have got a shoulder pad. But because he's a big guy and he came up here, he didn't contact him. But because he hit him straight on, I think that's what jarred it, and boom, it was done. The flag was done. But he's nothing. You're not going to adjust your path. You're running straight to the quarterback. You're going to hit him. You're not going to kind of adjust it. But if he was just stepped out of the pocket a second, that play would never have. Well, yeah, I'm not even going to say the analogy because I'll get in trouble, so I won't even say it.
You mentioned that. I mean, Cameron Kelly, he's really doing a great job, and that whole linebacker crew, they really just seem to be gelling. The secondary, you know, obviously they missed a guy like Frankie tonight, but I thought Carriel Brooks had a couple of huge kind of strips, passes that could have been caught by the Argos, and he goes in there. What have you seen from the secondary, Court? That, again, it's encouraging. Hopefully Frankie's back after the bye, but what have you seen from the secondary?
Well, just to note on Cam Kelly, I mean, that's a very vital position right there, that Sam linebacker. You're in the box, you're out covering the slot receiver, you're dropping back in zone coverage. So it's very demanding. It takes a smart player with a high football IQ. I thought he did a great job. And then also Jamal Rowe moving out of the boundary into the field. I thought that he did a good job transitioning there because the timing, when the ball has to travel a little bit further, you're covering more space. It's a little bit different than being in the corner. I know the positions have the same name, but the technique's a little different. So I thought he did a good job there. It was good to see the top down from the defense, but you got to marry it with, you know, matching up the receivers on those checkdowns and tackling them quickly and not letting them get extra yards after the catch.
All right, final thoughts, Andy. Where do the Ticats go from here?
Well, they can certainly build on that offense of production that they had. That was really nice to see as a receiver that we haven't seen anything like that all year long. We saw a glimpse of it in the first drive of the year. We saw a little bit in the first quarter of the Montreal game at Montreal. But really just a solid game. So I think they can build on that offensive scheme and production and the offensive line play too. They didn't make too many mistakes there on offense. A couple errant throws here and there that Mazzoli's for sure going to want back. But other than that, I saw a lot of effort from the receivers, like an aggressiveness, both catching the ball and after the catch, which was pleasantly surprising. Is something that stood out for me this game.
Court, final thoughts on tonight's game?
Man, it was great to see Jeremiah back there looking comfortable. The timing with the receivers I thought was improved from previous weeks. Defense is coming together. I think they hit the stride in the last few games and they make a run. It looks good, and hoping they stay healthy for the run to the Cup.
Hitch, 5 games left. What are you hoping to see from the Ticats here?
Well, come out like they did today. All phases in the first half. Let me rephrase. In the first half, the offense, defense, special teams came out. They did their jobs, and they just got to learn how to knock someone out and then go get that win.
Yeah, result aside, I think the three of us agree it was a good game. This is why we love the CFL. It was a great finish, right down to the wire. Of course, we all wish it went in the Ticats' favor. But it did not. The final score, the Hamilton Tiger-Cats 22, the Toronto Argonauts. The Hamilton Tiger-Cats 23, the Toronto Argonauts 24. For Rob Hitchcock and Andy Fantuz and Courtney Stephen, I'm Louie B. We'll be back for Tiger-Cats pregame presented by Active Green and Ross on October 23rd as the Ticats host the Red Blacks. Thanks for listening on the Ticats Audio Network.